So thankful you could join us here today on this Thursday. And today I would like to speak to you from Philippians chapter 3. This is the heart of Paul on display as he wants to know the Lord and the power of his resurrection. But before he gets there, he gives his own testimony of his background. I mean, he was someone that could be proud of his pedigree. He was a full Jew, knowing what his tribe was. He was of the tribe of Benjamin. He was a Hebrew of the Hebrews. I mean, he was of the strictest sect of the Hebrews. He was a Pharisee, and he was extremely zealous and persecuted the church. And we know also that he was trained under Gamaliel, that he would have had to have great riches. He was a Roman citizen, on it goes. He was probably destined to maybe be even the political leader of the Sanhedrin. That's how powerful he was. And yet God graciously worked in his heart, and he responded to that there on the road to Damascus and became the great apostle Paul. But there's a verse that we know, but it was really a key in regard to not only his life and being used of him, but I think to him not being intimidated by the pressures of the Jewish world. They were after him, the pressures of the Roman world, and all that he was having to deal with as he took the gospel to many, many different regions. And I think that key perspective is found in verse 7 of chapter 3. But what things were gained to me, those I counted loss for Christ. Now those were some pretty big things that were gained to him. In that world at that time, in the Jewish culture, you couldn't get anything bigger than that. That was pretty amazing. And he said, I counted all that loss because Christ is what life is really about. I count it loss for Christ, and it's gain to me that I've lost him. I want to know Christ. Now for us, the reason we get troubled, the reason we get discouraged, the reason we get down is because of our just a perspective on things that we think are important for a sense of purpose, for a sense of standing, for a sense of success, wanting to be liked, wanting to feel like people appreciate you. There's so many natural things in our human existence that motivate us. And without the grace of God, they're always there. But when we truly understand we are what we are by the grace of God, and that our purpose is not to promote ourselves, self-righteousness, self-motivation, self-promotion, all of these things are very, very dangerous. And that's what keeps us from having the power of God. And so the Apostle Paul's secret to truly know Christ was all these things that seemed so important to him, he counted that loss so that he could know Christ. And with that perspective, he didn't let all the things happening around him trouble him. And let me just tell you, when we truly die to our ambitions, die to our motives, when we let God expose those, when we don't allow what people think about us to be the key motivation, we need to have a good testimony, but we're not trying to promote ourselves, when we're not trying to gratify ourselves or feel good because we've accomplished something so that we can feel good about ourselves, and on I could go, when we can see those things and identify them and give those to the Lord, realizing that his will being accomplished is what is most important, and we can die to those areas, that's when life begins to come. And that's when we get freedom from fear, because fear is mainly losing what we have, losing our money, losing our position, and we look around us and things keep on going and our economy and our country are going to be in trouble. But by what standard? If we're walking with God and God's working in our life and he's providing for us, then why do those things matter? Well, that's where the fear comes. That's where we get troubled. So this really gets down to the essence. The reason the Apostle Paul could courageously go forth in the Roman Empire was that he died to self and he gave up all the things that mattered to him, and all he wanted to do was please the Lord. Well, if you want to stay encouraged, that's really the key, and may God give us that kind of heart.